Candidates, I want to start with what happened just over 24 hours ago. A tremendous amount of rain fell yesterday afternoon, completely shutting down I-95 and Route 10. In a summer of drought, there has only been significant rainfall twice, and both times those storms led to a highway shutdown. Mr. McKee, you urged motorists to stay off the road after they were already stuck on the highway, and motorists encountered DOT signs that were still flashing Labor Day messages rather than letting people know the highway was closed. What do you say to people who think your administration did not act quickly enough?
Well, first of all, everybody's safe, and that was the most important thing in any form of a crisis or an emergency like that. Our EMA, our state police, as well as the DOT, were very much on top of it. And for me, I've had experience at this. I was on conversations with them, making sure they were talking to local EMAs. Snowstorm, for instance, the largest snowfall in the history of the state of Rhode Island in January. Only people remember that was the day that Tom Brady didn't retire because it was managed so well. And millions of dollars are going to be recovered there. So in terms of dealing with emergencies or weather, I've had experience going through snowstorms, hurricanes, and so my feeling is, though, that it was handled well. And I want to thank the workers coming out on Labor Day, responding to an emergency, and in a way that I believe that we're very fortunate
to have.
But
Mr. McKee, these meteorologists had predicted that a flash flood could occur at some point in the afternoon. The snowstorm you talked about was something everybody saw on the radar coming in for a while. Do you feel like you could have done more knowing that that flooding was a potential in the forecast?
The rain was forecasted. Did you know that 11 inches of rain were going to fall in an hour in the city of Cranston? No. So yes, they responded the way they should under the circumstances. They cleared the roads as quickly as they could be cleared. It was an inconvenience, but no one got hurt, and no one had a health issue that emergencies you should be following. So yes, could you predict 11 inches in Cranston, or 7 or 8 inches in an hour, 1 month's worth of rain in any area of the state? And down in Newport, no rain. Narragansett, no rain, right? So the response there with the DOT, the EMA, and as well as the Rhode Island State Police was excellent.
Well, to your point, Mr. McKee, I'm going to fold you and Ms. Folks. You obviously disagree. You said Mr. McKee's response was, quote, government incompetence, going on to say, quote, after 18 months in office, Governor McKee should know how to handle a rainstorm, and he failed. Ms. Folks, you and I both know that was not just a rainstorm. Why is it Mr. McKee's fault that an extreme amount of rain fell in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, the weather is absolutely not the governor's fault. I totally agree with that, and I really appreciate what everyone did to try to solve the problem in the moment. There were two real issues that were missing yesterday. One is we didn't have a plan, and just 2 weeks ago we had a major rainstorm. We could have learned from that experience and planned ahead on drainage and how to deal with it. Number two, very poor communication. To your point, we knew people were stuck on that highway at 3 in the afternoon for hours. And the first we had a press conference on Zoom was the governor leading it at 6 p.m. This was far too late. He should have been warning all of us much earlier. The signs on the roadways could have been much better. I heard
Wouldn't
from
you
people,
rather have the governor trying to fix the problem rather than hopping on TV right away?
I think you can walk and chew gum. I think you can absolutely be solving the problem and be visible and clear to people that there is a problem, out with people and making it happen. This was far too late, and people suffered. They were in their cars trapped with children, dogs, not knowing what was going on, and that was a real mistake. I do not blame him for the weather. That was quite unfortunate. What I blame him for was the response to it.
No, hold on. Ms. Gorbea, same question to you. Like Ms. Folks, you were critical of how Mr. McKee handled the flooding, tweeting in part, Governor McKee and his RIDOT director appear content to brush off their responsibility for making sure this keeps from happening in the future. So I guess I'll ask you, if you become governor, are you going to fire RIDOT director Peter Alviti?
Look, the issue here is climate change is real. Our climate is changing, and this administration has not done anything to really take care of that problem. This is not just a one-day event. And by the way, my parents were stuck in 95 for 3.5 hours during that flood storm with no indication. We had no information as to what was going on and when could they get out. So I take this very seriously. I know the lack of communication because we experienced it first and foremost. But this is not just about a rainstorm. This is not about a one-time event. Thank goodness for the people who are our state employees and our public safety people who are there trying to get it done. This is about a failure of leadership in dealing with climate change issues. We need to reorganize how we handle things out of the Department of Transportation, the Department of Environmental Management. The governor has been in place for 18 months. The places that flooded in Cranston and Johnston, we've known that they flood. There has been no action to use the federal dollars to take care of storm waters when they're going to happen. And so that is a failure of leadership, and that's what we saw come to a head yesterday.
Jim, I'll answer that question.
Mr. Brown?
I said months ago that as governor, I will fire Transportation Director Alviti. And we saw the reason why he needs to go yesterday. I was outraged to hear him say at a press conference that we are, quote, at the mercy of Mother Nature. The flood was caused by the climate crisis. The climate crisis is caused by the fossil fuel industry and the politicians that prop them up. So I will replace Director Alviti with a new Director of Transportation who understands that the climate crisis is real, understands that we can and must take urgent action to address it. That includes ensuring that our infrastructure is safe and reliable, expanding urban green space, investing in public transit, and higher capacity stormwater.
Yeah, that's great, but all of those things would take a long time to have an effect on climate change, and probably your opponents agree with much of what you just said. So if you were governor yesterday, what would you have done differently than Governor McKee?
Well, I think we've covered all that. What I'm saying, though, is that there's a deeper problem. And I'm answering the question that you put to Secretary Gorbea, and I don't think any of my opponents on the stage agree with me on this, which is that Director Alviti has to go. The problem is at the top. We have someone at the top who does not understand and take seriously the climate crisis, and so we're going to need to replace Director Alviti, which I will do, with someone who will take it seriously, who will take urgent action. We also need to shut down the polluting industries in the flood-prone zone in the Port of Providence. We're one more serious storm away from one of those facilities being damaged and chemicals, toxic chemicals, spreading across the city of Providence. And we have to get to the root of the problem, which is the climate crisis itself, with a Green New Deal to shut down the fossil fuel industry and make this the first state in the country to run 100% on clean energy.
All right, I don't want to litigate an extreme weather event for too long here. We only have an hour, but I feel like you, Mr. McKee, have responded to some of the shots that you took there. But one I do want you to respond to, particularly from Ms. Gorbea. She said that you have not done enough to address climate change in Rhode Island. Please respond, 30 seconds.
There's no governor that's done more, right? Signed the Act on Climate. Have signed the act, the bill that's going to make us a renewable, 100% renewable by 2033. I put in a legislation to create 1,000 kilowatts of energy to procure that's going to electrify over 500,000 homes. The work that has been done, and then back to the work that's been done by the DOT and Director Alviti, $20 million is being invested in the work right now every year on drainage, as well as the infrastructure dollars that are going to, I took $100 million from the surplus and applied it towards $100 million and applied it towards $400 million of federal dollars for road improvements, which there'll be engineering in there for drainage as well. So yes, the question was asked, what have I done? I've done more in 18 months than any governor has, and we've worked with the General Assembly to make
15 seconds, Ms. Gorbea.
Look, signing bills is great, but then you have to implement it. And as the candidate who's received endorsements by Clean Water Action and Climate Action Rhode Island, clearly there is not the kind of faith that we need in the leadership of our governor to be able to deal with climate change or short-term problems like the flooding yesterday.
All right, candidates, we want to cover a lot of ground tonight.
Yeah. I'll just add, though, that we also activated the EC4 committee as well, and that meeting monthly with partners around the state on the environmental issues.
All right.